So, what's in my camera bag? 2021. Well, this video is kind of going to be more like what's in my camera bags 2021. Plural. Now, you're going to want to stick around for this video. I'm not just going to be showing off my gear. I mean, I will be showing off my gear. Duh. But as I'm pulling stuff out, I'm going to be explaining the reasons as to why I have certain gear and what purpose my gear serves. As I'm pulling out certain lenses and certain items from my bag, I'm going to be explaining the reasons as to why I would use those specific lenses and under what circumstances. And hopefully, as you continue to watch this video, you'll get an idea as to the reasons why maybe you should consider having gear that is specific towards certain genres of photography. And hopefully that might help you guys sort of understand why each part of a piece of equipment serves its purpose. You know, what for and why. We'll begin with this guy. Let's obviously start with bag number one, which is this one right here. I mean, this is the main bag I take all of my stuff in when I go on any shoot. It's the one that I keep the most organized because it's the one that I need to access my equipment the fastest with. And this bag is the boy. It really is. It's the shit.
Yeah, boy.
The make that does this bag is by a brand by the name of Canon Concept. It's a photography equipment brand. It basically specializes from everything to tripods, polarizers, camera bags, and camera gear related equipment. So in case any of you are interested in picking up sort of a much larger version of a camera bag with all the good stuff, I will leave an Amazon link in the description of this video for all of you to check out. Not sure if it's to this exact bag, but hopefully to a bag that's of a similar build and quality. This is not a sponsored video by any means, so I'm going to say what the hell I like about this bag. But to be honest, I actually have nothing but good words for it because this bag has been incredible. I've taken it through, I wouldn't say nearly all weather conditions, but I've taken it through some pretty bad weather conditions, and it's held up pretty nicely. Actually, one of the main features and why I love this bag so much is because the inside of it is really customizable. I mean, like it should. All big camera bags should be customizable on the inside. You should be able to fit your gear and work your gear around the interior of the bag. That's how it should be. But what I love about this one is that it's like extra padded. So it feels like your gear is really nicely supported on the inside. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I've emptied all of my stuff from the bag and I'm gonna show you the inside of the bag and you know what I like most about it. Just so you guys can have a little bit of a look to see, you know, its features and stuff. And then I'll just roll some B-roll afterwards. Some like slick B-roll. Yeah. Okay, so this is the bag itself. Let's see if it focuses. Here we go. That's the make, Canon Concept. Yeah, really cool. La la la. There you go. So as you can see, I've split it out into the compartments how I want. In this side here, I have my telephoto lens. I think I have my wide angle here, my 50 in there, and my two cameras in here and in that slot there. And then these are just like extra side pockets where I just put in wherever I want. It's really good. Everything feels very secure and tight. And here you have these, you know, little pockets. I just keep my camera straps in there because I really only use them when I'm doing weddings. This bag has a raincoat, so I keep the raincoat in here, and that's pretty handy. What I also like is that this bag, let's see if it focuses. Here we go. Has these little locks. So when you close the bag, you can secure them on the outside with these tiny little locks here, and they're pretty good. I like that. It's the little features like that. Focus. There we go. Little features like that, I think, make the difference between a bag that looks like, or a bag that feels like it's cheap, and a bag that feels like it's, you know, worth the money. However, one of the main reasons, one of the star features in my complete opinion, why I bought this bag, and it was kind of like a huge selling point for me, was because this camera bag, this specific model, can hold my laptop, and I have like a MacBook 15-inch one, like the big one. So, you know, I needed like space, and I needed something that was comfortable. I needed something that when I had all of my equipment into this bag, it didn't feel like I was carrying an elephant on my back, you know? I needed something that was comfortable enough, that could also kind of feel like it was supporting me nicely, and this bag offered that. I'd see, here we go, this little area here on the back of the bag. Don't know if you guys can see it there. That in there is the laptop slot, and that for me is really, really important. I mean, you can also fit in documents, whatever you want in there, but I use it to carry my laptop. Obviously not now in the middle of a pandemic, you know, I'm not traveling anywhere. But when I do go traveling, it's great because it means I can actually take the tool that I use to eventually edit my photographs with. So that's always a plus. But I've really had no problems with this bag. I could easily see this bag surviving like a week in Jurassic Park, you know what I mean? I give this bag 5 Jeff Goldblums out of 5. Yeah, solid. Moving on to the juicy contents of what's inside the bag itself. Now we're going to start, of course, with none other than my Canon EOS R, which is currently recording this video right now. So as an example, I've drawn a little photograph of the Canon EOS. I've drawn a little drawing of the Canon EOS R. It's really good. You can see my skills, huh? To be honest, with the Canon EOS R, I don't have much to say other than what I have already said in my 2 previous videos specifically about the Canon EOS R. Link is also in the description of this video. You should watch those. The Canon EOS R has some nice features that are obviously not on this drawing and are on the actual camera itself that I unfortunately cannot show you. But please take my word for it. The Canon EOS R, I'm gonna set that down. The Canon EOS R is a beast of a camera, and I seriously recommend, if you're in the market to changing from a DSLR to a mirrorless, I would seriously recommend this camera. If you're sticking to the Canon family, as I have stuck to the Canon family. And yeah, I think it's a risk nonetheless, but I think it's a risk that pays off. And that's in a nutshell the best way I can describe this camera for me. So yeah, if I had to give this thing a rating, I'd probably give it a solid 4 Jeff Goldblums out of 5. Right, the next piece of equipment, and as you can see, I didn't have to do a drawing of this one because I have it in front of me. Here you go. Is the Canon 7D, and this is a pretty special camera because this was the first camera that I didn't just start recording the videos for my channel with. Aww. But this was the first camera that I used, this was the first camera that I had bought with my own money, and I had really saved up a lot in order to buy this thing in the first place. And I have to say, you know, the time that I used it's a good camera. What can I say? It's a solid piece of equipment. One of the main reasons I think why I went down the 7D line instead of opting for like an 80D or for like a 90D or even for like a 5D is because, for starters, I couldn't afford at the time a full frame camera because this is a crop sensor. The second point was that this could hold this had an EFS and an EF mount, which means that I didn't have to use any type of external adapter in order to hook all of my lenses up. I could do it directly onto the camera itself. Also because the 7D line has kind of always been a staple of Canon cameras. They've always been regarded as really good, not just cameras, you know, for general purpose usage, like for portraiture and for documentary photography, but this thing's more specifically for wildlife and sport photography. You know, its shutter speed, the way that the camera handling, its ergonomics, it's just a good camera. You know, if I had to compare this thing to anything, I'd say this camera is like the Nokia brick version for Canon. Review time. Being that this thing is a decade old, doesn't really matter for me. it's still surprisingly good and it's still very usable. I would probably give it 3.5 Jeffs out of 5. Yeah, I think that's a fair score. Moving on to lenses. Now with lenses, I have 3, and as you can see, I have pulled 2 of them out because one of them is currently hooked up to my Canon EOS R, and that lens that I'm currently using to record is none other than the 50mm f1.8. So I will leave a picture on screen so you guys can all have a look at what the 50mm f1.8 looks like next to these 2 which I have in front of me right now. Let's begin with lens number 1. And the first lens that got me hooked on photography in the first place is this little guilty little bastard right here, the Canon 10 to 18mm wide-angle lens. Main reason why I got it was because I really wanted to have an awkward perspective, and I knew that this thing could help me in 2 things. Number 1, landscapes, and number 2, documentary photography, which was really kind of where I started in photography in the first place, and I really wanted to have sort of like the full scope basically. So lens number 2 is the Canon 50mm f1.8 STM lens. Oh, I can't believe I know that off by heart now. But that lens is, I mean, what can I say? I've had probably the most fun using that lens. It's incredible, not just for portraiture, but I mean, obviously that's its main selling point, is that it's a portraiture lens, but I think it's an incredible lens because it's the best value for money. You get an f1.8 which lets in a shit ton of light, and it's not an expensive lens. I must have picked it up for like 100 quid. Lens number 3 is the big boy, the Sigma 100 to 400mm contemporary lens. And if you're basically looking for a cheaper alternative to like a Canon version of this type of lens, then I probably recommend Sigma. Sigma's a great brand. I think amongst photographers, Sigma is probably, I'd say, the second or the third kind of brand to go for if you're not getting a Canon lens, or if you're not getting a Nikon lens for your camera body. So I would suggest going down either Sigma. I think Tamron are pretty good. Yeah, I think Samyang are pretty decent. So I'll leave a link in the description of this video to this lens if you feel like you want to check it out, if you feel like it might be the right fit for you, or if you're in the market for a telephoto lens. Okay, the score. Now I would probably score the 50mm f1.8. I'd probably score it 4 out of 5 Jeff Goldblums. I would score the 10 to 18mm. I'd probably score it 3.5 out of 5 Jeffs, just because this thing is a little bit dated. And finally, I would score the Sigma, the telephoto lens, number 3. I would score it 3 out of 5 Jeffs. Camera bag number 2 is this one right here. And camera bag number 2 is really important because this is the camera bag that I have all of my equipment in, external stuff like wires, chargers, batteries, SD cards, memory cards. I have all of the stuff that I really can't be asked to either fit into the primary bag, or I just don't know where else to put it. So I basically dedicate an entire camera bag, a small one, to fitting in all of the unnecessary equipment that you need to take when you go out on a shoot. We have the gimbal, and the gimbal, again, I'll leave some footage on the side. The model of the gimbal is fantastic. It's seriously cool to use. I've had a lot of enjoyment using this gimbal, and it's great. I really needed something to get some stable video shots, and I needed something to also support the weight of the cameras that I had. And yeah, the Moza Air 2 works a charm. It works a charm. Finally, we have the last piece of equipment that I own, which I think every photographer should have, and that is, big surprise, the tripod. So yeah, that's it. That's pretty much all of my gear. I mean, I think, you know, as you've watched this video, you reached the end, you sort of started to realize that each piece of equipment plays its role, and each piece of equipment, you know, it sort of has its purpose, right? I don't just buy willy-nilly a piece of equipment, a lens or a camera body, without seriously considering why I want it in the first place. Thank you so much for sticking around, for watching me, you know, for watching what is in my camera bag 2021. Maybe it changes, I'm sure it will within this year, and hopefully I can do an updated version either towards the end of this year or at the beginning of next year. So yeah, cheers guys, and see you in the next one.